question I want to address right now is, how do you measure the quality of internal audit services? Now, the global internal audit standards, the new ones, as they should, say that the head of internal audit, the chief audit executive, should set performance measures and should try to assess the quality of the work and the value that is being delivered to the organization. But does it actually, in the standards, provide good guidance? It has a number of suggested measures, including some of the old famous ones like the percentage of the audit plan that's completed, the fact, true or not, that you have been in conformance with the IIA standards, and other ones such as you have at least one individual with a related internal audit certification. Now, we can talk about each one of these at some length, such as if you're constantly updating the audit plan to address the risks of today and tomorrow rather than the risks of yesterday, whatever it is that you put it together, maybe a year ago even. Percentage of the audit plan completed doesn't really make an awful lot of sense, because you should not be striving to do 100% of an old audit plan. You should be constantly updating it so that you are doing what is right. So let me share an example of what I look at, what I think about in terms of internal audit quality. And I want to share with you something that I've been working on myself, which is the first time in a long time I've been doing an audit. The church that my wife and I attend asked for an internal audit, and I was happy to do so. Obviously, this is something that we're donating our time to do this. Now, a church and other non-for-profit organizations have to develop their accounting, do their bookkeeping, and produce financial statements using a different type of accounting called fund accounting, which is quite different from what I'm, for example, quite used to in for-profit organizations, companies, businesses. And when I went in to look at what they were doing, I found they were not doing fund accounting properly. Even at first glance, it was not. Now, if I just wanted to finish the audit and move on to the next one, I could have just said, okay, that's enough. I've done enough. You need to figure out how to bring them into conformance with the Financial Accounting Standards Board guidance on the accounting. I could have gone further and pointed out that the fixed assets that they were holding were totally wrong. Instead of recording them and reporting them at cost, perhaps less depreciation, they were putting them at an estimated current value. Well, by no accountant is that right. Years ago we used to talk about replacement accounting, but today we are no longer talking about that. We are, especially not in the United States, we're talking about recording fixed assets at cost, okay? And yet these were nothing like it, and in fact this was just a guess as to what the value was. So I could have reported that. But no, I decided the greater value would be to help them understand what fund accounting really is. So I did some research, I found some publications, free publications and guidance on the web, and shared that with them. But they still had some difficulty with it. And so I started talking about, well, you've got too many funds, you don't distinguish between what we call restricted and unrestricted funds. And so I went further. Then the issue comes back down to, okay, well, what's the root cause? Well, the root cause was twofold. First of all, they had a very highly dedicated individual maintaining the accounts, but he's no accountant. He was an IT person by background, and even though he was being paid, he didn't have the experience and training to do accounting, and there was nobody within the organization that was active within the organization. Obviously, a church has got hundreds of members, but there was no CPA or chartered accountant or something similar to that, corporate controller type, that was providing guidance to the individual keeping the accounts. So that's one root cause. I also found that the previous audit, which had been done by somebody who is not a CPA, I'm a CPA and was a chartered accountant, some 6 or 7 years ago, had actually directed them to do it wrong. The things that they might be doing right, this auditor had actually directed them to do something wrong. So again, to be fair and to be balanced, I have to bring all of that out so that the leadership of the church, the leadership, the volunteers, and also the staff need to understand what's really going on and how to fix it. Now, there were some other things that I noticed. Let's just say there were a lot of issues. And the more I looked at it, the more I found. And I didn't just stop and say, fix it, because I knew they didn't have the capacity to fix it without some help. So I would actually provide them with guidance. I wasn't making any journal entries myself, but I was helping them with more recommendations and more recommendations all the time, to the point where I had to stop, and this audit is finishing, but I'm leaving them with a roadmap of how to get where they need to go, even to the point of helping them with some ideas and recommendations on how to staff the finance and accounting function and the committee that oversees it going forward. To me, quality is in the eyes of your customer. Are you doing something that is adding value to them? Are you doing something which is helping them be successful? Now, when I've gone in the past and talked to my customers, when I was the head of internal audit, for example, at the Tosco Corporation, which I was there for 10 years or so, I remember distinctly talking to one executive vice president. He was actually the president, corporate executive vice president, and president of the largest division. And I asked him how we're doing, and he said we had yet to do an audit he would gladly pay for. We were doing quality work. We were focusing on the right things. We were providing quality and balanced and fair assessment. And we were giving him the information, the assurance, advice, and insight that helped him run the business. That's quality. That's how you measure the quality of internal audit service. Is in terms of, are you giving your customer on the board, your customer in the audit committee, your customer in top management, and the customer in operating management, are you helping them be successful? Or are you simply striving to complete the audit plan? Now, you don't have to be in conformance with the standards to do quality work. Frankly, it's somewhat irrelevant. Sorry, IIA, but they're somewhat irrelevant in terms of delivering the value that your customers need. You don't need to be in conformance. But you do need to be thinking about what your business, what your organization needs from you. And you go as far as you need to while maintaining some degree of independence and certainly being objective, balanced and fair in delivering what that organization needs at that time, helping them be successful. So in terms of performance measures, certainly I looked to understand what that was, and I did it by going and talking to people at all the levels of the organization. How are we doing? Do you support our budget? And in fact, on that note, there was one year in particular where the company was not doing well and they were looking to cut budgets, but they were happy to keep our budget intact, even to the point of one part of the organization suggesting that our budget needed to be increased because we were helping them manage risk when the risks was increasing. So I would go and I would talk to members of the board. I would talk to the members of the audit committee, all of them. I would talk to all the top executives and the division people and even the people that we were doing when we were doing an audit. I would talk to them and say, are we helping you? Are we giving you the information you need? What do you think we could do better? What do you think we could do less of, frankly, because it's not helping you. It's just maybe wasting your time. What do you think of my people? Do I have the right people doing the right things? So quality is in the eyes of your customer, not in any statistics. Let's not measure quantity of internal audit. Let's not measure the number of audit findings that are agreed upon, because frankly, if you're not working with management to agree upon issues as they come up, not just after the fact, you're not doing your job. But what do they think of you? Are you doing what they need? Are you helping them be successful? And go and ask, and that's your measure. That's your measure. When I went to the audit committee at Tosco the first time, I said, how are you doing? How are we doing? And they said, you're doing great because you help us sleep at night, because we have confidence that you are looking at the right issues, the risks to our business. You are telling us what we need to know where we need to know it. And when there are issues, you're working with management to get them fixed. And that's what was important to them. And they reflected that, I'm happy to say, by keeping me on and even asking me to take on additional responsibilities over time. Satisfied customer, that's the measure of quality. It may not be a measure of quantity, but I go for quality over quantity anytime. I appreciate your comments. Please share them with me and directly or in the comments below this YouTube video. Thank you.